As a teenager in the noughties, we were warned about the three things that would surely lead us into degeneracy: drugs, smoking, and tattoos. Today, two of the three hold. We're still a bit Nancy Reagan on drugs, we diverted smoking towards the harmless pastime of vaping, but the societal disdain we once had for tattoos is now null and void. Tattoos are now everywhere, on both the hardened criminal and the anime kiddies robbing. A feature which used to be the literal mark of the outsider has morphed into a contemporary display of conformity, with around 50% of Gen Z now sporting one compared to just 5% of young people in 1970. This video unpacks how tattoos became mundanely normal. Imagine the scene. You're in a bar, waiting for your date, nervously checking the entrance. This is 2026, so naturally you don't know anything about them, but for their floating head, which you approvingly swiped to the right a week ago. Then, she appears. Takes off her jacket to reveal a tattoo sleeve that would make an MS-13 shot caller blush. You take a moment, compose yourself, and remember that this kind of reveal is just normal nowadays, and that perhaps you're the prude. Well, if that's you, I want you to know that I'm on your side. For you see, like 98% of other people with a side parting, I don't especially like tattoos, but I did once see the appeal, and it's worth going back in time for a bit of context. Tattoos aren't especially new. They date back thousands of years and have never been viewed through just one lens. But it's fair to say that in much of the world, it's long been seen as taboo. The common link was the use of tattoos to mark people as outsiders, whether that's marking slaves in Roman times, criminals in Japan, or sex workers in the West. The Victorians regarded tattoos as primitive and dirty. My personal dislike for tattoos is rather tamer. It's because I think that, since the invention of paper back in 105 AD, you need a really good reason to write permanent messages to yourself. I see how those who have been bonded by some tough or wild experiences might want a discreet reminder. By the early 20th century, tattoos in the West started to depict where people had been, evoking with it a sense of adventure and rugged masculinity. Our skin was the tapestry for ports visited, people loved, wars fought, brothers felled. I don't suppose anyone would be shown a Special Forces tattoo and think that a Polaroid of the occasion might have sufficed instead. The medium suits the intensity. It's blood, condensed in ink. I also understand how a tattoo can be a great living metaphor for the hubris of youth, which is why that tequila glass with Cancun 2015 on your lower thigh said more than 1 million confessions to your oblivious husband ever could. Even prison tattoos had to be earned by putting in work. There were no free rides. And I guess that's what used to make tattoos intriguing. They meant something and were discreet. Like a scar you chose, it told a secret story, and that's what made them special. When you saw them on Friends, you felt special knowing the reason why. There was a logic to it all. Then, something changed. Tattoos were about to explode in popularity. I think I blame Mike Tyson for bringing about this apocalypse. The face tattoo was initially the universal symbol for someone you wouldn't want to mess with. A gesture so ridiculous yet permanent that the protagonist had to be unhinged. But soon others were getting them too. It was going beyond the unhinged to the plain stupid, and of course, stupidity is ubiquitous. And since Iron Mike is the GOAT, let's spread the blame among some of his contemporaries. David Beckham, Rihanna, Justin Bieber, Angelina Jolie. The surreal absurdity of tattoos was spreading exponentially. Like the moment hip-hop started playing in department stores, an unexpected sheen of respectability had been applied to the tattoo. They were morphing, from being marks of the ultimate outsider to the ultimate insider. Blokes who can barely speak English started getting tattoos in Mandarin and Arabic. Call me old-fashioned, but literally not understanding what your tattoo means kind of undermines the significance. These were the kind of men you could upsell a wingding sleeve to. Then there was the dude getting his wife's birthday tattooed on his forearm, as if this wasn't a slippery slope that would lead to getting the local Domino's number inked to his foot in due course. Soon, even Patrick from the suburbs had a teardrop tattoo, and he hadn't committed no murder. And women, who can so often be trusted to be the best of us, had their heads turned too. The low-res tattoos of the 90s are turned into the HD inking of the noughties, with cleaner lines administered by smaller needles. The normal positioning on lower backs and ankles migrated until a new generation of men had to get used to miniature love hearts on fingers and fight the urge to ask, what does it mean? What had previously only been acceptable in the blue-collar world was now getting a pass in white-collar spaces. You thought Mike was boring until you spotted the ink on his wrist, barely disguised by his loose-fit shirt. Now you spend the marketing call giving it a backstory. Football hooligan? Russian mob? Maybe it'd been Mikhail in his 20s. It didn't matter. We'd entered a time when you could bring your whole self to work, ink and all. Now, while taking a societal issue, Tearing it apart and holding it up as existential is my whole shtick. I don't know if that's fair in the case of tattoos, but I do sometimes wonder whether those getting extensive body tattoos, or modifications as they're grimly known, are really doing so from a good place. Some studies suggest a link between heavy tattooing and certain mental health conditions, such as anxiety and depression. Not that it takes a doctorate to tell you that the lady with the flaming skull on her chest may be a bit unbalanced. And if tattoos are becoming ways of those with mental illness expressing themselves, it does raise the question as to whether glorifying it is a good thing. But the larger point stands. The whole symbolism of tattoos has changed, from objects of meaning to a kind of aesthetic wallpaper, which inverts the original premise, from a symbol of not caring to something you can't wait to post on Instagram. It's the paradox of individuality. The more people use tattoos to stand out, the less they did. And just as the nature of symbolism has been eroded, so too has the whole premise of getting inked. Permanence. The regret economy, also known as tattoo removal, has exploded in popularity as the tech has evolved. Laser removal has turned skin into a living whiteboard, the perfect metaphor for an age that feels impermanent and overloaded with choice. As for me, I've been tattoo-free since '93 and finally part of a counterculture because of it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Should we be earning our tattoos the old-fashioned way?